How's it going, everybody? Today, I would like to talk about 3I Atlas, the comet slash extraterrestrial spacecraft that is approaching our solar system. Now, let's assume, okay, that it is actually artificial. Because although there are a lot of mainstream astronomers saying, oh, there's no evidence to support that it's artificial, blah, 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 the literal trajectory of it is proof enough. Nothing natural is going to flow at that exact trajectory. Let's assume it's artificial. Okay, now there are some very interesting things to note about the chosen trajectory of this object if it is in fact intelligent. Now, I'm not going to say it's artificial because I don't believe it's artificial. I believe it's intelligent, but not artificial. Let me explain. The chosen trajectory of this object, if it is artificial, still assuming it's artificial, obscures Earth at its closest pass. Now, many theorize this is to hide it from us. However, I don't believe that's the case because what its trajectory actually does do, if you ignore the fact that Earth has life on it, right, it takes it past 3 planets very, very closely, which, from a certain evolutionary point of view, are not that dissimilar. Venus, Mars, and Jupiter actually, no, not Jupiter specifically, but many of the moons around it share developmental characteristics between Mars and Venus. There's a good chance that Mars actually mirrors Venus very similarly in its development and perhaps still has life on it. So does Jupiter and its moons, and so does Venus. Okay, but it isn't life that we know about. Now, it has just been put forward that Venus has silicate and sulfur-based life living on it. I believe there is silicate and sulfur-based life living on planet Earth, and was resulted in our carbon existence. The sulfur-based life existed on what do they call that? Where it's greenhouse, the runaway greenhouse effect. But it's not runaway, it's reverse. See, the silicate life actually produces carbon, oxygen, and H2O, hydrogen, as a byproduct. It terraforms the planet. I believe for about 3 to 5 billion years before carbon-based life developed on planet Earth, there was silicate and sulfur and polyaminate life that actually terraformed the planet and created the carbon that, or at least refined the carbon and the atmosphere and the values to allow us to exist. Now, if a silicate life form evolved intelligence and did not require, carbon-based life never replaced it on the planet, and it didn't sink beneath the mantle where all our silicate life is down in the molten mantle of the planet. If it was able to escape, it would seek out, as we do, we seek out other life, but we seek out other life we can communicate with. Now, this has been theorized by life geneticists and stuff. They talk about if silicate life existed, its reactive processes are so much slower than ours, it would develop over hundreds or thousands of years where we develop over a few years. So a silicate life form would not be recognizable to us. Right? Let me explain why. Ask the questions about yourself. Take yourself into consideration and ask why you are the way you are. Why do you see? Why do you have eyeballs that take light in? Why do you have ears that can hear sound waves moving through an atmosphere? And why do you have a nose that can determine different chemical makeups of different things? These things are to determine edible energy, danger. That's pretty much all there is, edible energy and danger. everything that is important to us is light refracted. Like light refracts off everything important to us, because everything a danger to us, everything we need to eat, and everything we need to watch out for and use as a groundwork to build our civilization and ourselves up, makes sound, smells like something, and you can see it. All right? All these principles are carbon-based principles. They are hyper-reactive principles, because things that are a danger to us are things that are seen, heard, and smelled. However, a silicate-based life form exists over thousands, tens of thousands, hundreds of thousands, millions of years. So they don't need to see anything, because nothing visible is a danger to them. The only thing seriously dangerous to a silicate-based life form is major volcanic eruption, tectonic movement, planetary collision, meteorite impact, and major solar activity. Basically, planet-changing events are the only things that silicate life will ever need to react to. They also do not consume energy like we do. A silicate life form would consume isotopes, reactive chemicals, heavy elements to sustain itself. So it would need the means of detecting these elements. Now, most of these elements produce very specific electromagnetic fields that are quite easy to detect. So this is most likely how this entity will gather and perceive information through electromagnetic and gravity waves. So let's think about a life form that's going to travel out into space. Now, we are going to travel out into space and go and look for other carbon-based life, because that's what we can communicate with. We're going to want to communicate with things that exist in similar conceptual representations of reality as we do, like hyper-reactive principles, something we can actually talk to. Because you can't have a conversation with a silicate-based life form, because we react too quickly and it reacts too slowly. There's too much time gap between the thing. A single life would live and die of ours before they'd even finish saying hello. So perhaps advanced alien life can talk to silicate life, but they would basically preset what they want to tell the entity in the format they communicate in, and then just leave it there. Come back in 10,000 years and collect the information. Collect the answer to the question. This is simply how it works. So if you have a silicate-based life form cruising through space, it is going to want to look for other silicate-based life. It is going to look for the electromagnetic fields and the gravity waves produced by stars and planets and other silicate life. We would be invisible to it. Nothing on our planet, nothing that the life on our planet produces short of a nuclear explosion produces a gravity wave large enough to be detected for any distance outside our planet. This thing isn't avoiding Earth because it doesn't want to be seen by us. It's avoiding us because it can't see us. Because to it, we don't even exist. If it is a silicate-based life form and it reacts on silicate, like hyper-extended periods of reactivity, we would be comparable. One of our lives would be comparable to a spark of lightning or a flick of lightning. It just, the differences are so astronomically, like, there's no comparison between them. So this thing is likely spitting out all kinds of information. It is actually attempting to communicate all over the place with other silicate-based life. But we don't understand that this thing is even alive because we think it's a probe. The more I think about it, the more I realize no entity is going to really send probes anywhere. They're just going to go themselves. The probe is it's weird. It's kind of an us thing, because the distances are so vast, there'd be no way this probe could communicate the information it's gathering to the source from wherever it came from. And the speed it's traveling, it's too slow. It is likely this thing, 3i Atlas, is alive. It's a big rock life form, like a big friggin' egg of silicate life that's reacting inside. It has likely evolved to a point where it can manipulate electromagnetic fields and actually propel itself through space. There is a chance this entity is a spatial evolution. There's also a chance that Oumuamua was of the same species, just a younger, much smaller one, that traveled through the solar system, took a couple of readings and went, oh, hey, there's silicate life here. You all should come and have a look. So a bigger, more older entity redirected itself into our solar system, probably blinked outside the solar system, which is why you didn't see it until it arrived, and why you can no longer see Oumuamua, because they can likely move through specific areas of space in ways we don't even understand. And even if they don't, they're silicate-based life. So their reactive principles, they could eat, right? Let's say we have a really, really big meal. We could survive for 2 weeks without food or water before we die. We would guaranteed die, but we could survive about 4 or 5 days without serious negative effects. Like, there would be major negative effects. You'd be friggin' hungry and thirsty, and you wouldn't be a happy chappy. You'd probably have a wicked headache. But you'd be alive. You'd still be able to gather data. Just imagine this thing has this giant-ass meal that could sustain it for tens of millions of years, and then just throws itself off toward a star. Spins around it, flicks off toward the next star. It may gather chemicals, material. The path that it's set may also be very specifically set so it can eat as it comes through our solar system. So calculate if there's gas, if there's rock, if there's something in the way that it may consume. It may even flick past the sun and suck some plasma off it. I'm not entirely sure exactly what a plasma spatial life form would eat or how it developed to eat, but I can almost guarantee it's not a probe. It is a big living entity of silicate life. And if you want to communicate with it, the only way you're going to be able to is in the format that it communicates. Electromagnetic pulses or gravity pulses. So the best thing you can do is send a giant-ass nuclear weapon out into space and detonate it somewhere where this thing has a clear line of sight of it, or line of, like, imagine the wave passing over, because that's what it's going to see. It's going to see the wave. Now, if this entity is, in fact, a silicate reactive entity, the reactive principles inside it are likely minutely affected by tiny little gravity pulses. In the same way we can zoom our eyes into a distant thing and see it much, much bigger than our eyes allow it to see. This thing likely can do the same, but with its version of sight. So it's calculated its trajectory very, very well. Everything has been incredibly thought out. And its inner workings themselves are likely able to detect other life on the surface of the planets. Because silicate life would actually be huge collections of material. There's a chance we still have silicate life living and growing on our planet near the surface where we can see. We just don't know it's alive. We just think it's a rock or magma or something else. Dirt. But in fact, it's a living silicate entity that reacts so incredibly slowly we simply don't see. There's a chance some of the isotopic elements that exist that we mine are living creatures that we just don't know about. And we're killing silicate entities without even realizing it. But the point of all of this is to simply question its motives and remove every human preconception you can think of, and imagine this thing is simply a silicate life form artificial intelligence computer that reacts really, really slowly. Or maybe it reacts quickly now because it's pretty freaking big. So there's a chance that it has created conduit systems through itself. So even though the reactions are small, because it's so big, there's quite a few of them happening, and it's actually able to transfer and gather and process information much, much faster than a normal developing silicate life form stuck on a planet. It's difficult to tell, but there are many, many questions that can be asked about why it chose its path. And if you want to talk to it, you've got to talk to it in a format it's going to understand. Because right now, it is not avoiding Earth. It simply can't see that Earth has life or an intelligence on it. We have to show it there's intelligence here. Because a silicate life form can't see carbon-based life. Because it doesn't see with light or sound. It sees with gravity waves. And unless we are spacefaring travelers, it could see the gravity waves produced by the ships as we travel faster than light. It produce pulses of gravity waves. And that would be detectable from this entity. But until we reach that stage, we'd be invisible to it. To any silicate life. We'd be completely invisible. Which is freaking cool to think about. So, yeah. That's about all I got. But, yeah, if you're going to communicate with it, do it in a format it's going to understand. Just flicking lights at it or sound waves, literally any way we think we can communicate isn't going to work. We have to send a pulse at it, a big one. So just get one of your giant 1,000 kiloton nukes, stick it on one of Elon Musk's fucking rockets, and shoot it into an open area of space and send a pulse and see if it sends it back. I can guarantee you're not going to get a conversation, but you could get a reflection. Because if these things communicate with gravity waves and electromagnetic, and if it's traveling through space, obviously it uses gravity waves to travel, so it would be able to detect and respond. So there you go. You want to talk in a format it's going to understand, because you're talking to silicate life. Have a great day.